What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Try Time Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Callum.
And you join us for episode 82, which I don't know what we're titling this, but playoffs continue, I guess.
Yeah, playoffs. Realistically, it should be the most exciting time of the year, really. And it's...
Are you excited?
I guess so, yeah. But it's one of them...
You don't sound excited.
No, I'm more excited than I was last week, I tell you. But it's one of them where it's good for us because sometimes in points in season, you know, we've got to try and find something to talk about because there's no news, not much happening. Whereas now it's like everything's happening in playoffs. So
yeah, we don't have to do an entire pod on why Mikael Gudimond has been granted a release out of Leeds.
No, we don't even need to mention that until it's like wherever he ends up going. That'll be a good time to put it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, playoffs in. I mean, I guess in all leagues now, innit? The Championship's finally made it to the end of the season, but we'll come on to that later, and we'll start with Super League as usual. And yeah, I mean, one great game, one not so great game, I guess you'd say.
I don't know. I feel like they were both pretty good games, to be fair. I enjoyed watching Lee Salford. I thought the first half was a really good contest. Obviously, Sneed's 2 points being the difference early on. And as the game went on, just Lee kind of turned the class on and Salford didn't really have an answer. I thought it was certainly in the early phases, a good game of rugby league chess, albeit neither side was playing particularly well. But yeah, it wasn't a blowout. Like,
no, it wasn't necessarily. I mean, it were a bigger margin than kind of would have predicted. I actually thought this would have been the closer of the two games, but I think, I don't know about Salford. It just, with Lee, they just seem to have. I mean, Lee had the best player on the pitch in Ipape, and you know when they've got them strike players like that. And you know how much I love Sneed, but is he that? You know, even someone like Moylan or Lamb, they're the sort of player who they could go length at field, and you wouldn't be surprised. Whereas you're not going to see Sneed do that. Like it poses a lot of questions about Salford, even though they've had a great season and done better than anyone predicted, and being consistent. Like, and I guess, does it include Rowley in this? Of like, can he ever get to that next level of winning something? Is what I'm trying to say. Like,
it's a good question because obviously this has been the talk for a little while in terms of why Rowley perhaps is. And I know we did the top 5 Super League coaches or something a little while back, and it's fair to say there was a bit of stick for Rowley not being higher up that list. And you start to ask the question of, is this why?
Yeah, because he's never really got on a team outside of a Lee in a terrible champion, like in the Championship when it wasn't as good as it is now. He hasn't got a team over the line.
On the flip side, let's go right back to round 1, our season predictions, and we had Salford below every other team in these playoffs. So
no, that is true. I agree.
A ceiling ultimately to where they can go. Now, others will say this squad is probably no weaker than what made the grand final a few years ago. I wouldn't agree with that personally. I think it is. But I can see that the argument would be made that they again made the grand final under Watson, with Rowley as his assistant, I may add, with a squad that probably on paper was a bunch of journeymen and lacked the quality of what Wigan, St Helens, Warrington were throwing out that year. Yet it was them who got there.
Mm.
What is going to be interesting is we are guaranteed to have a grand final, which is not going to be contested between 2 winners of the Super League previously.
Yeah, that is true, yeah.
I'm clutching at straws, but it's a clutch I'm going to make.
Although, I was thinking that, but there was actually, as soon as the season finished, there was no way, like Wigan and Saints couldn't face each other in the final, could they?
No.
Because Wigan are always going to look at
Saints. If Saints won, they'd have met Wigan in the semi. Yeah,
exactly. So, but
it's quite an interesting thing, isn't it, for these 4? I mean, you've got Lee, the absolute rank outsiders, who I don't think anyone expects to even get there, frankly, let alone come away with lifting the trophy. You've got Warrington desperate to break the curse and it finally be their year. You've got Hull KR who've competed on the big finals now quite recently, albeit have bottled every one of them. Can they shake that image? And you've got Wigan on the dawn of a historic treble with what some are saying is one of the best sides in Super League history on paper.
Yeah,
it's an interesting conclusion to the season.
And we've said this before, I think the only team who could in the final trouble Wigan would be Warrington. And I'm sorry, OKR fans, I just think that's the case. I think they've just got more big game players, and they proved that this past weekend.
But then did OKR not come pretty close to beating Wigan because with some dodgy sin bins?
Yeah, well, honestly, I would not be surprised if OKR beat Warrington. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
Don't think they'll beat Wigan at the end of it.
I don't think they'd beat Wigan. I don't necessarily think Warrington will. I'd want Warrington. Actually, I don't know if I do want Warrington.
So didn't you back Warrington at Wembley?
Yeah, I'm a big Warrington. I like Warrington. I think they're fine. But obviously, as a Bradford fan, we need to keep it to as a little team. Keeping us relevant is this. No one else.
Really not.
It is, because it gets a mention every time we talk about it.
Let's talk about Warrington and St Helens before we give you any opportunity to talk Championship. And obviously the golden point game of the round, a fantastic advert for Rugby League, which the BBC put zero promotion into yet again. What do we think? Because obviously Saints, in my opinion, it was probably their best performance in months to come away and bring, I guess first of all, to really take the game to Warrington and get in front, but also the grit and determination to level things up. Even if they did have the slight helping hand of an invisible white line that Chris Kendall failed to see Makinson had crossed with his entire ass and then some.
Yeah, I think it were good. It's good signs for Saints going forward, and I've seen a lot of this on social media since then. Is about like that. If that game showed anything, it showed that Wellens hasn't lost the changing room. They're still there, and it's basically what I think we've been saying all year is Saints fans need to chill out on the Wellens here, because he's doing best he can with what he's got, because they have had an injury-struck season. And the problem with a team like Saints is that, yes, they're a good team, but they have got like 4 or 5 players who are like great, like you Wellsbys. And so if you're missing someone like Jack Wellsby, your team's going to be worse. You can't replace that sort of player. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, we'll see how they replace him next week when he's dual reg to Swinton in the League One promotion game.
Oh God. I mean, but yeah, so I think fair play to Saints for making it a game. But Warrington, I think we expected them to win it, didn't we? Really? And
but I mean, what you can say is if St Helens hadn't have hit the post with that conversion, they'd have won. So you know what that means in the mind of St Helens fans, it's Mark Percival's fault again.
Yeah. Fuck me. I don't know.
He's back.
You know, every fucker else is leaving apart from him, and he's one who gets all sick.
Hey, John Bennison's sticking around. The other favourite person to blame when things go wrong.
Yeah, I mean Dodd's gone though, hasn't he? So
yeah, Lomax I think's kind of grown out of being the scapegoat a little bit for now at least.
But yeah, fair play to Saints. I mean,
it's Batchelor as well. He's the other one that gets blamed whenever anything goes wrong.
It's just so stupid to be fair. I mean, I've just actually just before we start recording this, looked on the thing he's been announced, the shortlist for the Young Player of the Year, and the 3 options are Ensemble, Nicholson, and Delaney. Right, and I think Delaney's great. I really like him, to be fair. I'm not doubting this, right? But there's some people. There was a fan on there saying it's nailed on. It's got to be Delaney. I'm like, I mean, the Super League are stupid. In fact, why the fuck are you releasing that? Because a week ago you released Dream Team. One of them players is in the Dream Team, so obviously he's going to win it, because you're not going to be the best young player and not beat Dream Team when one of them's in Dream Team, are you? Like,
in theory, you could be if we just had like a glut of talent in one position only, but.
No, but like
it's not going to be, is it? Because Nicholson and Ensemble are broadly competing for the same spot.
It's just, don't get, like, they're all 3 of them are all great talents. Do you know what I mean? I'm not down, like, Nicholson's great. Delaney's great. Obviously, it is in December, though, isn't it? Like,
it is. It's gotta be.
he's literally in the dream team. Just. But yeah, Saints fans were trying to say Delaney. Some of them, anyway, not all of them, were saying Delaney should have won it.
Well, unfortunately, like the rest of his squad and all the Salfords, so they can don their 90s boy band check shirts because it is the end of the road.
Correct.
You didn't think you'd be getting Boys to Men references in this week's
I don't
episode?
know. I never know with you. There's always some fucking references, isn't there? But...
You've always got to come. This is why people stick around to see what random shite I come out with next. Told you this is why I'd met the perfect commentator for this, because my analogies are just absolute. What was the one I pulled out at Bradford?
I can't remember now.
It was the most. It was. I can't remember. All I know is it was just the strange. Oh, it was the ball strip, wasn't it? Give him a pull and make him dance, and you won't see a clear strip.
Yeah, because I think I was shouting for a strip on and it won up. Yeah. Wow.
That's because Harry was in the other stand. That's why.
Yeah, actually turned up to a game for a change, but
he'd have come running over and started taking items off if he'd have heard you.
But yeah, I mean, going back to Salford, as a Leeds fan, where there's been big rumours of Rowley coming to Leeds, is that something that you would want in the future now, or do you think he's one of them who's never going to get over that final hurdle?
We just need to see where the land lies and what happens with Brad Arthur. I suppose at the mid and towards the back end of next year. Because, I mean, if there is no NRL interest, he might well stay.
Yeah, no.
If there is, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Somebody else might be available from down under. We might see the emergence of a different coaching talent. Like, you just don't know.
No, that's
a year's a long time in rugby. And it depends what Salford do. I mean, someone else might get him before then.
Yeah, no, I would not be surprised with that.
But all it takes is Saints to have a crap start to next season. Wellens does get the boot, and do you bring him in on an interim basis?
Yeah, because I think what he does is he'd just sort the culture out at any club, really. I think he's just one of them managers.
Yeah, but except even LFC would have bridged too far. He didn't want to try that one.
No, fuck that, yeah. I mean, going back to the young player here, I was reading through comments and some LFC fan said Logan Moy should have been on.
I was just going to say, I bet there were the Logan Moy shouts coming.
And fair play to young lad, he stepped up when he probably were before the point he should have had to do in his development. Come on, what are we doing? Like, I can think of an handful of young players who've been better in good teams as well. So
yeah, like, no disrespect to Logan, he is a very talented young player, but no, not the answer to that question. I'm not sure what the question has to be that he's the answer to, but other than Hull wears 37 for Hull FC.
Is that what number he is, 37?
I think so.
I don't know. Well, fair play if you've got that right.
So one of us brings the Super League knowledge. We'd let one of you deal with the Championship. It's fine.
Yeah. Well,
is that where we're moving on to?
Well, I guess what we need to do is we need to give a bit of a prediction for this weekend, don't we?
I suppose. Well, I think we've kind of established that we're going to beat Leigh. So then it comes down to Warrington and Hull KR then.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're going to beat Leigh. I think Leigh will put up a good effort, but Wigan will just have too much, especially at home.
I think Leigh have lost too many players, to be honest. Holton's out, O'Donnell's, we don't know if he's going to be back, Charnley's out.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we'll say on Charnley as well, all the best on it, because it were a nasty one, that, but...
It's a nasty one. He's got the all clear, thankfully, which is probably why we've not really touched on it before now, because there isn't actually anything to touch on almost, but yeah, really nasty knock, and credit to the medical team at Salford for getting him off so quickly and
definitely
handling that with care on the pitch.
No, definitely we're good, and obviously Leigh then saw the game out. So yeah, I think Leigh will have enough against Wigan, and I'm going to back Warrington. I think I've got to do. I've got to back the boy Sam Burgess, haven't
I? I'll keep it interesting and go KR just so we've got a bit of.
Yeah, I think it'll be
alternate sides on the Leigh Salford game, and I came up Smyrna Roses, so I'll give you a shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them where I think a big advantage, that home advantage for KR could be the difference, really, Because I think if this is at Warrington, I think I back Warrington all day. I mean, I'm backing them anyway, but I think that could be the decide sort of. I think it's going to be a close one, definitely.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a walkover for either side in that one.
No. So,
I guess Wigan and Lee, we should actually say, rumours of Moylan hanging up his boots at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, is he the biggest loss?
I'm going to say what I've said about him all season. The attacking depth and the quality he brings in that spine on the front foot is like anyone out of the NRL. Defensively, it's like you've poached someone from the Championship.
Yeah, so let me tell you what they should do. If he's hanging his boots up...
He's not going to Bradford for a year.
I'm not on about him going to Bradford. I don't want him at Bradford. We got better players than that.
That's a lie.
No, they should sign Jack Campagnolo on about quarter of the wage, replaces the quarter spot, and gives you the same offensive flair. Maybe not to that degree and the flexibility of playing fullback, but
it's not the worst shout in the world. I mean, you've probably got O'Brien playing the fullback role for most of next year. Yeah, it's not the worst signing.
Why not?
Because they've got plenty of quarter spots to use with O'Donnell and Amon going back as well.
Oh, yeah. I think they'll actually be quite exciting. Some good signings for Lee next year. I think they're going to splash and see how they go. I mean, a team that's, they're challenging. They've got playoffs last year. They're progressing every year. Last year, knocked out first round playoffs, won Challenge Cup. This year, at least they're in semi-finals at playoffs. Like, you've got to think how far. I mean, you've got to go back. It's fair play to Lee and KR because they are teams that, I mean, Lee
at the start of this year, we've had 9 teams ever appear in a Super League Grand Final since the inaugural one in 1998.
Yeah, and they've come from Championship, both of them, fairly recently, and done it. Like KR's, we've spoke a lot about KR's progress since going down and rebuilding and coming back up, which is similar
but even before then, it was only about 2007 that they first graduated into the top flight. Like,
definitely,
which in the grand scheme of things is still fairly recent.
Yeah, definitely. But then Lee, I mean, what's that, like a couple of years, and they've just, you know what I mean? Like, it's fair. You can't
with the Centurions branding dragging them down all along.
Maybe but you can't deny that. Fair play to them, really. It's one of them, isn't it? Fair play.
No, they're doing really well, and they've built something quite special, really, what's going on there. And the question now, this is where it's going to get tough, because this is where they've now actually got to rebuild and recruit like a top club.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is where they've got to kick on now and really maintain playoffs, really. Because, I mean, even this year we won. I can't remember exactly where we put them, but I think we might have had them at, they're in that 6 or 7.
Yeah, we only have to look like about, a month and a half ago, they were 8th, 5 points adrift of the playoffs. After what was a very, very shaky start.
Which was down to the best player being injured, to be fair. But
then that's worrying levels of reliance.
Yeah, but I think any team in league would rely on Edwin. They drop off after you lose it. I mean, Dwyer came in, to be fair, and filled that gap fine, but you're always going to struggle when you're missing a player of that caliber, really.
Which you are, but then I think you've still got to rely on your other creative players to give a bit more without necessarily, and which at the start of the year they weren't doing. Now they definitely are. They're back on full form.
Yeah.
But again, if you're having quite significant changes, you've got to keep that going early doors, because next year it might not be that Leeds, Catalans, etc. drop sufficient points to give you the opportunity.
No. It's true. I mean, and then you've got Wake it for a mix next year as well. Who I'm not saying they're necessarily going to get playoffs, but they're going to compete more than London have done.
I don't think they'll be like down 10th, 11th, 12th. I think this is a team that's probably got 8th, 9th on it, while you're dealing with a dog knock on.
Yeah, my dog's just nearly killed herself, falling off of bed.
Excellent work. 10-10, you nearly had grilled cheese.
Christ. Right, should we move on to
cheese for anyone who don't get that joke?
Yeah. Oh, she's fucking. She'll have fallen asleep and then just slipped down. She's an idiot. Right. Anyway.
Championship.
Yeah.
So it's officially now bye-bye to Whitehaven. They've been formally relegated to League One for next season.
Despite winning on last day as well.
Yeah, albeit not the 200 points difference swing they needed. And despite being relegated probably in about January, Dewsbury picking up a shock second win of the season to deny Sheffield a route into the playoffs, which we all thought was a shoo-in for 5th place.
Yeah, I'm going to say they made us look stupid, but everyone seemed to be shocked around. I mean, apart from Sheffield fans who seemed to just didn't have any hope really anyway. But I think the thing with Sheffield is they would have been knocked out first round at playoffs, which is why I was gutted that they didn't win, because Bradford would have played them and I'd have been so much more confident. But yeah, I mean, fair play Dewsbury for still being motivated enough, because it don't matter how bad Sheffield were, you've still got to put performance in, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%.
So fair play to them, really.
So on that front, then I guess, well, Barrow nearly scared Widnes, but they hung on by 2 points to take 5th place, which is a very strong league finish for them.
Yeah.
Their reward is a trip to one of the form teams in the division, going over to York.
Yeah, that'll be a good game, that one, yeah.
Which, I mean, let's start by previewing that one then. For me, this has got a York win written all over it.
Yeah, I fancy York. I would probably say York, but Widnes have just, it's hard, isn't it? Because Widnes have just got that. They've got that. I mean, they've got one of the best halves in the league, if not the best, outside of Wakey's in Gilmore. He can just turn a game anyway. So good. I think it is one of them where the home advantage is so important. Genuinely think if this were at Widnes would be I'd be back at Widnes.
I think you would do. For me, it's the form coming into this. I mean, York have looked pretty unstoppable, even against Wakefield. Okay, they lost, but that was probably one of the most gutsy performances that any team has gone and put in at whatever it's called, Bellevue.
No, yeah.
What is it? The DIY Kitchen Stadium or something daft. It's Bellevue.
Yeah. Yeah, I think York have looked good, and they're a team that I think can I think we all think Wakey are just going to cruise all this, which I think's fair enough. But I think York are a team who can challenge them to a degree.
Well, I'm thinking more next year when we've got this much closer fight. I think we've all agreed that London are coming down. They're probably not going to retain a lot of this. Obviously, a lot of it's already signed elsewhere, their current squad. They're not going to do what Wakefield have come and done. You start to think York are probably in this conversation now for really pushing towards the top of this league.
Well, I would argue York have got the best coach in the league.
I mean, probably. I mean, who else are you?
It's either in Powell or Hulley.
Well, let's take Powell out of the equation because he's not in this league next year.
No, yeah. Well, Hulley's on.
Then comes down to it, but Toulouse are the only full-time team outside of Wakefield in the Championship.
Yeah.
And that is a massive advantage. It's kind of difficult to say.
Because, Bradford have finished 3rd, which is where the highest placed part-time team. But I also know we've spent more money. Maybe only Fev's probably matched us financially in terms of the part-time team.
Don't get started on the coach.
No, so I would not put O'Carroll in that thing, because I think the players that he's got, we should probably have done better. I think we should finish 2nd.
But don't forget, Jared Sammett supposedly thinks you trained rubbish and worse than Dunning, even though he never played under Dunning.
So yeah, I really like Applegath. I think he's really turned things around at York. And yeah, I mean, I've been speaking to you a lot about next year, how I'm really happy with Bradford's recruitment, because it seems like we're really going to push and try and, in a year where we don't know what's going to happen with Toulouse, we don't, but Toulouse have sort of regressed over the last couple of years anyway. A year where you're not going to have an obvious team who runs away with league like we've had over the last 5 championship seasons. It's going to be interesting to see, how teams recruit, and a team like York are definitely one on the up anyway. We're going to kick on. So yeah, I think fair play. I think Widnes as well, to be fair. Widnes's recruitment and stuff this year, and Widnes's coach Coleman's got to get some praise as well, because he's you look at that team on paper, it's a thin squad, And he's got a good tune out of him, hasn't he, to
The
get
good thing with Widnes is they've got a great talent conveyor belt. I mean, people don't talk about it 'cause obviously it's not in Super League. You're not seeing it the same extent that Wigan, St Helens, etc. have. And don't get me wrong, it's not that level. But for this division, it's probably one of the best going.
Yeah, just to get them players every year. There's some new players coming in who can step up and do a job. Definitely. Yeah, I think
that one. I mean, close game, but York's come on top for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I think York will do it.
And then we get to semi-final number 2. Well, is it eliminator fight, whatever we call it these days?
But I mean, I guess
Bradford hosting probably the luckiest team in the league to get away with a loss and still be thankful for a 43-year-old Paul Sykes.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess before we go into that, Bradford beating Swinton 50 points to 0, and obviously, and even though Barrow lost as well, did mean Swinton are now going to play.
I was going to get to that when I talked about League One, so we'll come back.
We'll leave that. We'll part that for then. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of just alluded to it. As a Bradford fan, I've got to be happy with third place. I'd have taken it at the start of the season. It's one of them where I think we could have finished high. We've thrown away too many games, and hopefully that's something we can improve on next year. So I'm happy with it really. But again, it's last week you lose to Halifax, and then this week you put in a really good professional performance against Swinton. Who let's be right, Swinton are absolutely terrible, by the way. Like, they were absolutely shocking, weren't they? Like,
it wasn't good.
But yeah, I mean, Fev's probably not the team you'd want. But what team would you want out of the three? I wanted Sheffield. They're not in it. So out of the other three, which one, I can see bad signs for every single one of them. We owe Fev one from when they were here about a month ago when they came to Hunslet. So yeah, should be a really good game. And I think what you're going to get with Fev is they'll bring a lot over. It'll be a good sort of feisty atmosphere. Kind of what you want in a playoff match, really. So
yeah, I think that's very fair.
So, fair. And Fev will fancy themselves as well for this. Like, Fev will be happy with that. I think Fev have probably got more chance away at Hunslet than they do away at York, really, based on how this season's gone. So yeah, I think I'm excited for a game. It'll be really good. To be fair, even if we win or lose, I think it'll be a good game.
I think that's fair enough. And I mean, yeah, the 93rd career hat trick for Pele, albeit this one is Franklin.
Yeah, I mean, it's comical when you watch, because he's not going to be doing that. He might score next week against Phil, I'm not going to say, but like, when you watch him, and we watched him against Dewsbury do exactly the same, when they're playing against these lower ranked teams, it is comical how they try and defend it, isn't it, when it's close to the line. Because it's like, at weekend, we were trying we were just dropping ball all the time, trying to get to 50, and then Pele would
just comes back on to give him it, and they just all back off, and it's just like, do you know what it's like? You know when like you put the kids on at half time and they all just run to whoever has the ball, like some gravitational pull. It's like that because there's no technique or attempt to tackle. They all just kind of stand there and loll about.
And they all basically end up on his back, don't they? And he's just carrying him over the line and he just plops down. And it's comical, really. But I mean, fair play to him. I mean, he's proving a lot like that. He's decent. And I stick by
what we've proved so far that he's not League One level. He's ahead of that.
No, I think he could easily do it. There's worse props than him in Super League. You cannot tell me otherwise. And people love to hate on him in the same breath as they hate on like Ockenbaugh and stuff like that. And I think Ockenbaugh's been fine as well at Bradford, but Ockenbaugh got a lot of stick for his off-field stuff, right? Pele don't have any of that.
Ockenbaugh also got a lot of stick, I think, because he was wearing the number 11 or 12.
No, yeah,
and his ability to tackle is the equivalent of that of a cardboard cutout being left in a rainstorm for 3 weeks.
Christ. But I think that with Pele, he's a really young. Like, people don't realise how young he is. He's a young kid who's come over to the other side of the world, right? And he's giving it a go, and it didn't work out on first few weeks, and from there everyone wrote him off. And obviously Hull FC was not the club with the right culture for him at that point, which it's. But like, I think people now still, Bradford are posting that he scored an hat trick, and you've got OKR fans in comments on there, unprovoked, just slagging him off. Oh, well, he couldn't cut. Like, you know what I mean? I just, honestly, like, yeah, there's worse props. There's worse props in Super League, definitely.
Who wins then, Bradford or Fev?
I've got to back Bradford, haven't I, really? I've got to back my team.
I kind of think you will, to be honest. So
yeah, I think it'll be a good game, to be fair. Like, I know you were saying sort of as a
it would be
neutral,
interesting if not, because then we've got Wakefield, Featherstone, and York/Widnes trip to Toulouse, which arguably has some more interesting semis, but
yeah, probably so, actually. Yeah, because one thing with Fev is Fev against Wakey, like that just has a bit of heat about it, doesn't it? Where you could see somehow Fev do something like, yeah. No, it's exciting time. It's a good league, isn't it? Championship, and it's definitely been a decent season for most teams, anyway. I mean,
well, let's get on to one team that hasn't then, and Swinton, who are a step closer to finding out who they will be playing following Hunslet's elimination of Rochdale in the everyone's favourite playoff structure.
It was a shock that though. We were shocked with,
and it wasn't close particularly. It was a good 14 points by the end. It started out a very close first half, and then Hunslet just seemed to pull away. And you're now looking back to last week when, of course, Rochdale were very close to coming up with a winner against Keighley. They knocked on the door a few times and couldn't quite get through. Well, how big of an impact does that now look with their season over and consigned to another year in the third tier, compared to little old Hunslet, who were scraped through Midlands, definitely the rank outsiders of this, only finished fourth in the league and are now just, 80 minutes from a chance to be 80 minutes from the championship.
Yeah, it is a silly system, isn't it? But yeah, fair play to Hunslet at first and foremost. Like, we expected Rochdale to win it, and they did.
I think we needed Hunslet to win, because otherwise you'd have had what? Midlands beat Workington, Rochdale beat Hunslet. For then Hunslet to beat Midlands, for Rochdale to beat Hunslet, for Keighley to beat Rochdale for the second time. It would have just been stupid. Yeah. We've also now finally got rid of this whole cycle of Keighley's last 4 games being against Rochdale.
Which actually were going to happen, wasn't it? Yeah. And also, this has given us some extra bit of spice in this, because we have got in the what you want to call it, the playoff final, whatever it is, you have got George Flanagan Senior against George Flanagan Junior. What a story!
Is this where you're going with it? The Flanagan off?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've already seen some sort of banter flying around on social media around it and stuff between them both. But it's what you want in it. It's a story, is that it'll be good to see unfold and stuff. Really, I do
can't wait for one to injure the other, and then it'd be the most awkward family Christmas ever while they're both sat with different casts on.
Yeah. No,
you can't have turkey this year. No, because you broke my arm in fucking playoff.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him have like a little scrap or something like that. But yeah, it is weird, isn't it? Seeing that, obviously, it was kind of groundbreaking when they both played in that game for Bradford a couple of years ago on the same team, but like playing against each other as father son, like it doesn't happen, does it? That like it is a bit
of a weird.
It's an anomaly, because George Flanagan must have had a kid when I don't even know exact age, but it was young, obviously. And then he's actually got a career where he's actually got a bit of longevity about him, hasn't he? Where he's actually managed to stick it out this long, which a lot of players, especially at the part-time level, because he's never been
used to seeing it siblings, aren't we? But this is like a whole new level.
No, definitely, yeah. And like, fair play. It's a good occasion for family as well to be in such a big game like this.
Well, you don't care who wins the same, do you?
No, it's one of them where there's going to be good banter either side of it. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, they'd probably rather Keighley win as the family, because Flanagan's actually like contracted to them, whereas like Junior's off back to Huddersfield, because he's only on.
Are you telling me we're going to see it all again in the championship next year?
Maybe so. Maybe Keighley go up. This is my prediction. Keighley go up, right? And then I don't even know if Keighley have got Flanagan Senior for next year, to be fair, but I would imagine so. They then sign Junior. Oh my god! So they're back on the same team again. There you go.
Oh, I mean when Fartown come down.
Oh, is that? Oh, I see what I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Toulouse up, Fartown down. The Cleckuders facts amalgamation is all in the same league.
Right. Maybe so. I mean, I don't know. Be an interesting team that, won't it? Where you've got fucking Tom Burgess coming up against.
It'll be like Tom Burgess versus Franklin Pele is going to be the most interesting thing.
That'll be a good face off that.
Which prop could score the most tries past bloody Keighley?
Christ. But yeah, I do think Keighley will have a bit too much in this, especially at home. Yeah,
I think they are favourites, and don't get me wrong, Hunslet can pull a shock, but yeah, I think Keighley are through.
And then
the question is, can either of them challenge Swinton? That's probably the biggest question here, because this is what's going to render this whole thing worthwhile or not.
I mean, it's one of them where before this weekend, we would have said Swinton would be big favourites at home for that. But after Swinton's showing against Bradford, it was very poor. I'd back Keighley in that game now.
I think they could do it, because Swinton looks really quite poor.
Yeah, it wasn't even like, especially because they had something to play for as well. Like Swinton, and it's not like Bradford weren't there for the taking either. Like, look at some of his recent performances. Even when we beat Batley, that were narrow, and they had fuck all to play for. Like,
look, you rested half the squad.
Yeah, we did. Also
locked in third, whatever happened. Whereas a Swinton win would have guaranteed their safety, provided Barrow lost. But ultimately, they did. And I think, considering Widnes were chasing playoffs, that was always a reasonable assumption that they might lose that game.
No, definitely.
To not even register a point. I don't think they completed a full set in their own attacking 30.
No, that's what I mean.
Shocking.
And don't get me wrong, Bradford were decent, but we weren't like groundbreaking.
I mean, Sheffield put more of a fight up against Wigan in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, like it were poor. Offensively, they just kept dropping ball, and defensively, they couldn't tackle Pele for fucking life of them. But
they couldn't. They were like the only one that didn't tip up all game. A certain player in particular, who was the loose forward, he was the half back, he was taking kickoffs, he was doing everything.
Yeah, it were quite funny, and it's one of them where, with all the shit that's happened with Swinton, with the Killshaw stuff and the fucking nooses round necks, if they go down, I for one ain't gonna fucking miss them.
I just don't want to have to talk about another bloody Glossops kit.
Yeah, that is also true, because they're not going away from that. That's
I hate them chuffing things. They're the worst shirts going every year, and I will not rest until I have vilified every one of them.
It's proper Tim Pot, to be fair. But
I don't know why they didn't play in green either.
I don't know.
They had no reason to not play in green, but anyway.
Yeah. Fuck knows.
That's played Rugby League in review. Oh, NRL went exactly as we thought. Penrith Storm, first versus second. What a
literally predictable, man. So predictable. And then if you get same in Super League and same in Championship.
Right, we should probably do it. To close the podcast, one word, who's going to win, Melbourne or Penrith?
Melbourne.
Oh, right, we've both gone for the same, then that's all. We've again not talked about, if you subscribe, you might want a shirt. Do that when we get some care.
Oh, people, yeah.
You're fed up with this now. We forget every week. One day we'll remember and you'll all die of shock. And as we finish recording this and on National Podcast Day itself, that's probably the perfect note to end on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.